Well, it's been a great privilege to be able to be with you these 5 weeks. I've enjoyed it immensely. What I'd like to do is give you a chance to share. What are some of the things that you've learned through this member care summer school? One thing that you've learned, as well as maybe one action point, the top action point that you have as a result of this member care summer school. I'll call you the order that you appear on my screen. Chi.
Okay. I think one I learned through this will be I'm glad we are internalizing the whole concept of member care into that very nicely done picture. I think that I appreciate that because it gives me a framework now to how does it then I contextualize in our area or in my country. So it related to the action point then will be, in fact, I just met up with my team just 2 days ago. We are looking at then how do we then at movement care, team care, and then self-care. We say what are the things that we need to be looking at, start doing, stop doing, and keep doing. So we just started to filling up things. What are the missing pieces and what are the things? So I thought that would be a good thing that that I'm kind of leading that. And in fact, if I may add one, Lilian Shen from Taiwan is also just sent me a message says that, hey, I think our area should come together because we quite have a fair representative for this in this cycle, that we should come together and wrestle with some of the issues and how does it contextualize in our area, because so that it makes sense to us. So yes, that would be the thing.
Great. Thanks, Chi. Hangerzel.
Let me unmute. Well, I was sharing with my group actually that the Lord is using this time to deal with some issues in my heart, and the articles we were given as a home assignment. Even this team caring article is actually about our hearts. And so the Lord is really using this time to help me deal with some heart issues and subsequently my character. And that is the biggest application I would take from the summer school. Action point. In Mongolia, CCC member care is very low profile. We actually, because the organization is still young, in LDH, we also are quite young. We focused more on processes and other things. Member care, officially, we never addressed it. We don't even have any plan or anything. So this entire topic has been very helpful for us as a team to focus our attention to member care. And maybe start talking and planning about putting more holistic systems for member care in our organization. So that's something for us to do as a team.
Great, thanks. Walter.
I realize that you guys are wonderful. Keep to as well, because I'm not really good in the LDHR. It is the first duty for me to do LDHR. That's why even I don't have much LDHR and also member care. So during the time, I enjoyed a lot, and it is a really good time for me to equip as well. And also one thing I realized that we have to make a very wonderful team first. I mean, first the LDHR team, even we don't have much enough members, also we are not really trained or well equipped as a member care team or LDHR team anyway. But anyway, we have to make a good team first. Then maybe we can help another members as well. And also, I already challenged the national team leader to have the special program for STEM members as well. And so I want to read much more books also after this one. Yeah, especially I realized that, yeah, the self-care, especially self-care, actually that time, even I'm not really good at the self-care as well. So how can I encourage my staff members to do the self-care. So it is one of the big challenges as well.
Good. Thanks for sharing. Kansa님, 감사합니다. Sandy.
So it's been a great 5 weeks to be with this group, and the material has been incredible and really stimulating personally for me. So my takeaways, a couple of main takeaways and action points are, I've been operating mainly in a internal specialist care role within the organization, but also as an organizational leader. So I do one immediate action point for me. I am in a process of doing a series of emotional health care, emotional health trainings for those who coach our people overseas. And as I'm doing that as an internal specialist, but this has helped me have the context to communicate of where does this lie, where does this emotional health training lie, especially in the area of how to provide the best support within the teams, within the movement, and then when is specialist care needed. That's one of the things I cover. So I have already done 5 of the trainings out of 10, but I have midway added in the member care diagram, which has been very helpful for me to help people think about not just going so quickly to specialist care, which I think is one of the things that we struggle with here in the US, but to really see that so much that the Lord is at work, and that teams have resources, and that people can care. People do care. And so that has really been an immediate help for me in what I'm doing right now here in the US. But another application, as I think about my husband and I moving to Western Europe, is just to now go back to my LDHR area leader and my team and just say, hey, I went through this training. Here's, here are some of the things that I learned, and kind of where do we want to go with this? So we're just starting to think about, what our part, mine and John's part is for Western Europe. But this helps me have a good framework of what's happening globally. I wish there were some more people that represent the U.S. on this call, because this is not language and information that is really known for U.S. ministry. So anyway, but I appreciate our global community and what's coming up, and then the influence that this can have now in my work that I'm doing here in the U.S. So it's pretty cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. We might have a topic and facilitator for our next summer school.
Yes. I'm in.
All right. Pamela, are you ready now?
I think for me, I'm really encouraged to just be able to also do this concept here from my other counterparts serving in different parts of the world, and just being exposed to the different issues of member care in different parts of the world, and I'm beginning to see how culture itself do come into play when we think about member care. Yeah, and I'm also very appreciative of the member care resources. I didn't know there were so many resources that people have worked hard on to provide. So thank you to all who have contributed. And our team, like what she said, we have talked about, met and talked about how can we make self-care resources like more readily available for our staff, so that they are able to access resources that can help them in their self-care and the master care part of things. Yeah. So yeah, it's been good.
Thanks, Pamela. Annie, would you like to share?
But I really liked how Karen and Sinead emphasized how we especially have to consider the leaders. It came up several times during our discussions that the leaders are the ones who are most of the time left out of care. So that was a very good, for me, highlighting that. And then the importance of team care and the role of the team leader, and how Paul was saying that he learned that the key was to really empower the team leaders to fulfill their roles. And so for me, the challenge is how can I really come alongside of them? So those were the two things I would say that, I mean, there were so many things. This whole thing was very new to me in terms of seeing it, the bigger picture, but these were just a couple of key points.
Great, thank you. Sylvia.
I am enjoying this new experience of Zoom technology. I like that. I like the opportunity to see all the actual faces of people who are involved with LDHR. And I really like the resources. I find that there's so much that I haven't had time to read. I went through a little bit on the Cyrus journey. I kind of thought, oh, that's great to have an overview of our life from the beginning of staff life and go through that. So I think I will still need to review that. And I also like the idea of a wheel of life, which I thought, yes, we should introduce that to our staff so that they're able to assess their own situation. I found that, oh, my family life is actually very low on my priority. And from there, I made a decision that I have a brother who is in Australia. I can't really get to him, but I have a brother here that I hardly meet. So I said that, okay, we will have once a month, we will at least make a commitment to meet. And so we had curry fish head the other day, and he said it was his treat. So that was a good benefit out of the wheel of life, because I felt that I'm really not connected to my family. We are quite independent. And as I look at the situation, I felt that real part of my life is not really doing well. So I felt that, yes, that's an important thing that I made in a change in my life. And also for self-care, I felt that, oh, this is something that I didn't think too much about. I kind of just live my life. I have a very comfortable life. And I felt that actually I wasn't really looking after myself that well. So I thought that as a result of this reflections, it has helped me to serve God better by taking care of myself better. Thank you for that.
Mike.
So I think that biggest thing that I've learned from this has been looking at the new diagram and reforming how I will describe member care going forward, and definitely like that it is, I think, a lot simpler and easier to explain. I think that, the action point would be that I would just want to try to go around and share the new, when I say go around, to roll out this new diagram, the new foundations, and maybe even mobilize some of the others from our area who are in this class to help me do it.
Okay, well, speaking about some of the others in your area, Sasha, you're next.
I appreciate a lot opportunity to jump into this school, starting with the second session. And I saw that God was working in my heart in this area, and I was interested in know more, and He provided this unique opportunity. And I, as a person, I like Bible study. So I liked topics that were introduced about heart, one another, and care. And I've already did one Bible study with my team about the importance of heart. And I like it. And I'm planning to use it when our staff will ask me to lead Bible studies. They sometimes do that. I will use my opportunity to introduce these very important topics and help them. And this diagram as well helps to see all together how it's connected to our master, and then realize that he is our heart and core. And different surveys, they were very useful as well. So we are planning to translate some into our language, and maybe some with some adaptation, try to use it and assess our people. So thanks a lot for including in this.
Thanks, Sasha. I'm glad you joined. Lisette.
I think for me, it would be from the very beginning, just to be able to see the framework, of member care. It was relieving. And to see, okay, I have these concerns and about how to think called member care, but just to be aware that this is primarily master care and self-care, and then how we come along and help to provide or make sure to provide the environment for that to flourish. So for me, it's like I'm not the primary caregiver, even though I might be concerned or I be, with the issues or things that are happening, like I can have a better view of all the things that need to be taken care of, but I can also at peace, of the things that I need to do and the things that I can move forward in the team and with every one of the members, but without being, too concerned about it, because it's not on me. Mainly it's on what God is going to be doing and what people have their own responsibility as well, and how organizationally I can also provide. And so that was like there are many things I learned from this, but this was kind of like key to have peace in my heart and mind, I guess. And the key points is to start to evaluate with the national director, and we'll do the surveys and assessments and all this to be able, what are the key points to move forward.
Great. Sunette.
I started member care, developing it in January. We didn't have a member care department, and I did a lot of research and started it, but there was nothing to measure it against. Like, I didn't know, am I on the right path? And globally, what's happening with member care, and am I, doing what the rest of the people are doing? And so this was really nice for us to just all get together and be on the same page with what member care is, what it's not, what it should look like, and sharing resources, sharing experiences, asking questions from each other. That was just really great for me. So I love being on this Facebook group and just being able to, ask your questions or share resources and just know that you're actually doing okay with what's happening globally in Campus Crusade. Yeah, so that was very good for me.
Appreciate your resources that you've shared with us too. Sarah.
Yeah, this time was just really great for me. I think being in more of a supportive role for the LDHR team here at headquarters, I think it's really easy for me to oftentimes feel disconnected from the heart of what it is we're really doing and what our ministry really hopes to do for all of our staff and our organization. And yeah, I just have had a really growing desire for self-care and recognizing my own needs when I was on the field. And so now being serving with a part of the organization that really focuses on that. Yeah, it's just been great getting to really gain more vision for that and what does it look like. So I think some of the things that I really took away were just one, like the deep desire for LDHR to really be intentional about caring for our staff, and in a very holistic kind of way. I think it's easy to really focus on certain aspects of it, or sometimes push certain aspects, but to really have a holistic view of self-care, master care, team care, movement care, that was just really, I don't know, just kind of eye-opening for me, because I just don't think I really view it in much of a holistic way a lot of times. And so some of the action points that I really wanted to take away were just, what does it look like to be intentional in each of those areas? What does it look like to be intentional in my own self-care, in my master care? The spiritual formation plan that we had to develop was actually really great for me, because it allowed me to be just very intentional about wanting to pursue that, and then making it a plan and a priority and actually really sticking to it. And so really wanting to stick with that, but also, what does team care or movement care look like for me being in more of a supportive role? And one of the things in the article from last week that we were reading about was just, how do you create this care for your team to really build deep and authentic friendships and be like a family? And so what could that look like for me in the office of doing that for my own team, or in other different capacities or ways that I serve? And so I'm just right now kind of processing, okay, what do I want those steps to look like? And one, I think, is just being really intentional with different team members that I work with, and just really being able to connect with them in a very authentic way. And so I think that's, right now, kind of the biggest thing that I want to do is just really focus on, how do I create authentic relationships within our team and in the place that I'm now serving.
Great, thanks. Mandy, you're next.
Hi, really agree with Sarah as well. And just master care was really important to me personally, and how it was weaved in all the different areas, and all the articles were really honing into that relationship with the Lord and humility. And that was a really reminder in my own life. And taking it to that master care piece, specifically our team in HR, I think is something that, or I hope that we can do more of. I do find that our HR team, we're often caring about our staff members, our leaders, but sometimes we're not as good about caring for our own, like people, our own team directly. Yeah, and so the aspect of bringing in a lot of the master care to the individuals on my team, and then also connecting it to team care. And it's funny because just this week, a staff member, HR team members, share with me how she didn't feel she was celebrated enough or appreciated enough on her birthday. And and so it's just like things like that remind me that team care definitely starts with the team leader in that sense. And then how do we equip other team leaders or managers to also be caring for their team, whether it's on an individual basis or celebrations, or their spiritual lives, or management and encouragement, et cetera, et cetera. And so even as I was talking to my HR director, earlier on when Member Care School started, about going through the different areas of LDHR and then ranking them, he mentioned that team care is something that as an organization we're probably not where there's areas for improvement. I think that's something that we'll be looking at more in terms of creating more resources for team leaders or managers, especially those who transition from being someone who doesn't supervise anyone to being a supervisor, having to lead people, and that can often be a difficult transition. And so noted that as something that's important for us to write more resources, or even like a manual of sorts, to help them transition in that way. And just providing more resources to our team leaders in general.
Good, thank you. Gensi.
I like it most, the diagram. For me, it's very important to understand the big picture of this one, member care. And also I'm using a lot this diagram also to explain the others. The way how we communicate, the way how we delegate, or all other things. So I'm using the diagrams. I think the benefits of that, not only for the member care. Mm-hmm. My action step is how to, for member care survey, how to figure out how to find the best way to apply in our country.
Good, thanks. Joyce.
I enjoy our time together. I think the framework of member care helps me to have a perspective of how we can provide the environment so that our staff know that they are cared for. Action point would more be like what Pamela, I'm just amazed at the resources. I will have to take time to look through. And I think many of this would also be very helpful. It's going to be helpful. Like just now what you shared on the ldhr.org, I think there's just an amazing amount of hard work that has been put in to look at the different aspects so that our staff can be healthy as they serve the Lord.
Good, thanks Joyce. Karen.
It was really enjoyable to be part of this group. And although I wouldn't say that I learned something content-wise because I was familiar with the diagram and the other parts to it, I think what I learned more is just from the people in the group and the sharing and what other people are doing. And I really appreciated that because this is something that I've been in for a couple of years now, and it's just felt like who else in global crew is really looking at this. I don't know that anybody is. So it's been so encouraging to think there are people that are interested. And Sunette, I've really appreciated a lot of the input that you've had. I feel like you are doing the things that I've been wanting to do and that we set up a structure to do, but we haven't always implemented them all yet. And yet I'm really surprised you said you've only been doing it since January, because you've done an awful lot if it's just been going since January. But so I think that's what I've learned as far as an action point. Well, I led a team day here on Sunday and I used the member care questionnaire. So I did that right away. That was really nice to have, although the team leader here and wanted to know my husband's team that's here to start some bonding. So I think just taking some of the resources, picking brains of people I've gotten to see. Now I know certain people that are doing certain things that I want to hear more about.
Thanks, Karen. Anna.
Well, this has been like a baptism of fire for me. This is completely new in many, many ways. I have had the privilege of having had really good member care, I realise, reading through this. And I'm on a good team here where I'm at. And one of the things that I've realized is that processes are caring for people. I mean, I have known that, but I think one of the strengths that I've experienced is team life and caring for many ways. But just talking to people locally, I think, and having done the priority assessment with some of the people who were also involved in member care and HR, we kind of scored low on the processes. Actually, we scored high priority and high evaluation on things where it was very kind of relationship centered when it came to implementing and seeing through and championing processes like staff development cycle, team leader training, career path planning, coaching, position focus. These all scored high on priority but fairly low in evaluation. And so then my anxiety starts like going through the roof and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do about this. But the other side of that is that my anxiety doesn't serve anybody. Actually, caring for people is not worrying about them, and that nobody's actually looking at me to solve anything at the moment. I'm very much in a learning capacity. And so I am going to read through that handbook 20 times. I actually was able to talk with my church minister as well. I've been asked to be on the pastoral group at church. They were talking meal rotas and the processes. And so I was able to bring in a different element and talk about master care and self-care and how we communicate that probably in a slightly different way, but to the congregation, that it's not just about giving meals to people, although that is definitely part of it. But there is a much larger picture to caring for people and equipping people and equipping leaders. So yeah, I feel I have a million thoughts going around my head, but I'm just grateful that I have all this information actually, that I'm not just Googling, what is member care? So I'm grateful for that.
It's good that Paul encouraged you to join.
Yes, thank you, Paul.
Batsitsig.
Thank you so much for these sessions, and I learned a lot. All the discussions and all the talks, ideas is very helpful to me. It gives me the picture of the member care. I liked all the assessments and the articles about the master care and member care, self-care and team care. And I think we could use this for our staff and help them make an environment like mutual care. The movement care is we will use the LDHR team. We are continually working this assessment. We get to know how we will work with our staff and our teams.
Great, thank you. Lillian.
Since I'm pretty new to LDHR, I was very happy to know that there is a summer score for that. So I really learned a lot, and from not only the material, but also from everyone sharing. And especially for me, I think I got a more clear idea that it's really important for member care that we have the master care and the self-care as a very fundamental part. And once that function well, it could actually help not only the team care, but also movement care, and everything will function in a more smooth way. So that also kind of connected to my action point. I realized it's really important that all the staff knows self-care is important, self-care master care is important. So I'm actually doing member care trip. So since Taiwan is not very big, and so I kind of talked to one of our SLM member care person at SLM. I trying to cooperate with her. So I visit one area already, and now I'm visiting another area, and mainly talk to women since we have a lot of women staff here, and just spend time with them one-on-one, listen to them, actually encourage them to really think about having a good self-care for themselves. So even if other cares doesn't really function that well, but at least a self-care can really help and support them to have a healthy life, healthy ministry. Yeah, so that is one thing I'm doing. And the second part, I was thinking, like, I realize it's really, really important for our leaders to know the importance of member care. And this is something that cannot just be say and leaders will get it. I think especially when Taiwan is actually at a stage 3 countries, all the leaders already have a lot of things ongoing, and it would be really hard for them to really pause and think, okay, you come in, but it's almost impossible. So I was thinking on how will it be possible for LDHR to really bring us something and let the leaders, not only the national leader team, but also all the local leaders know that, okay, this is important and we need to pay attention to that. And I think once that is well communicated, and if the information can really go to all the leaders, and then probably it will be very helpful for the later on member care, like not only self-care, maybe we will be able to kind of trying to help the team care to improve. And then at the end, when LDHR wanted to do a good movement care, that will be more easier than before. And yeah, thank you so much for everyone, because all of your sharing has been really, really helpful for me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lillian. Really hope that we can continue to use our LDHR community, our Facebook community, to network with one another, share best practices, ask questions. How do you do this? How can any suggestions on how I can do this better? Paul, I skipped over you. Do you have anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, a couple of things just quickly. Firstly, just you have all been such an encouragement to me. Dennis has been working on the materials and the framework and stuff for a good couple of years, and we've talked a long time about how best to deliver it. But this has just been surprisingly delightful. Not just the numbers of folk that have joined in these 5 weeks, but just the stuff that you're doing day in, day out, and to have such a group of people that are so committed to the ongoing care and development of our staff is just such a wonderful thing. So I'm just so very grateful for everything that you do, and just listening to your wisdom and experience has just been delightful. So thank you. Specifically in terms of learning, I'm obviously fairly familiar with a lot of the resources, but as has been said by a few folk, just the sharing of other resources that's happened over the Facebook group and things has just been fab. Sinette in particular, I've loved your the burnout response stuff that you put together, and particularly some of the stress management stuff that you've got within there. It's just been brilliant, and I've talked about it to a couple of folks since. So thank you. That's been really helpful. For me, in terms of application, one of the things I was saying in our small group, the team survey that we were looking at last week, I'd just like to see some of that language become more part of our team meetings more regularly. Not necessarily that we're going through the survey, but actually just some of those questions and some of the underlying things about it, just that it would become more part of our natural language as a team. So that's one for me. The other one is I'd love to get together with Anna at some point and just talk about the teams. How I live there sometime. So those are my two.
Great. Thanks, Paul. I've greatly enjoyed this time that we've had together, and so encouraged to, as Paul shared, the work that you're doing on the front lines in your countries, in your areas, to help promote the concept of member care as well as the actions of member care. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Dennis, for putting this
all.
together.
Appreciated this time. God bless.
Yes, thank you, Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.